I'm here with my grandparents, Larry and Georgia. And the first question is, what do you believe are the most important character traits to possess that help you create a successful marriage, and why?
Probably patience and understanding. Two people with very different ideas and very different goals come together, and you have to love each other enough and understand each other enough and respect each other enough to share those and come to an agreement.
I believe the most important is our faith in Jesus Christ and the promises he makes to us and obedience to the principles he teaches us. So as we live according to those teachings that are found in the scriptures, we can work through almost every other issue that takes place in a marriage. But you have to have a foundation of a good religious background.
I would agree with that.
All right, next question is, what did you not discuss before marriage that you wish you would have discussed, and why? Like, who's gonna take out the trash, or anything that you're oh, we probably should talk about that.
I don't think we talked about any of those things before we got married. We just
No, we really didn't. We were brought up in traditional families.
both of our
My
families
parents,
were similar.
my father provided the income and ran a farm. My mother took care of all the domestic duties and canning and fixing food and providing clothes, everything. It took care of the inside, and essentially everything outside was my father's role. I think that was true of George's family too.
Well, my dad was a convert to the church, and so the first many years of my life, my mother was the one that took us to church, that taught us our values and everything. My dad set an example for us, and he taught us a lot of love and family unity and everything. But he when he joined the church, our family changed a great deal. He became head of the household, and a love of the gospel that he shared with us that we hadn't seen in him. So I came from a split family, and then when he joined the church, it was altogether different and wonderful.
All right. What is it about marriage that has brought you the most joy, and why?
Want me to be first?
See, it's the order we're going in.
I think with me it's having somebody that I trust so completely with his love of the gospel and his love of Heavenly Father, that there hasn't been anything in my life, whether it was sickness or decisions or moving or whatever it was, I knew I could trust what he wanted to do, because I knew that he received the help and guidance from Heavenly Father. It was true when they called him as bishop, when we had all those little children and we had to take care of him because he was gone all the time. But I knew that was right, and we trusted in Heavenly Father and everything that we've done.
We only had 4 children when I was called as bishop. We ended with 7.
We kept doing it.
None of them were born after his release. What was that question again?
What is it about marriage that has brought you the most joy?
I think that's really easy. Family. I picked the right wife, and I didn't get any choice about picking the right children, but I got the right children. I have no disappointments in any of my children. My children have all have married well. And by that I mean good people with strong foundation. So there's no disappointment there, and I'm very proud of our grandchildren. And I think that's one of the most important things for happiness in the family. We don't feel a lot of tension in the family. There's normal irritations that occur, but our family loves each other. That's important.
I agree.
All right. What is your strategy to maintain unity even when you are independent and busy people?
I have to think. Well, I think family prayer helps a lot because as you pray together every day, it helps you to understand what's going to happen in your life, and you receive that help from Heavenly Father to be unified in. He'll give us He won't give us different answers. He'll give us the same answer, and we become very unified as we have family prayer, that the answer to the problems we have will come to both of us. I also think that we work together. We for the most part, believe the same thing and want the same thing for our children, and that helped a lot.
At this stage of our life, we are not living very independent because we're both 85 years old. We've been married for 60 years. And so we essentially know each other very well, and know what each other's wishes and desires are. And we try and help each other accomplish those goals. But that didn't come because we stood or was in front of the individual who said we would be married and together for eternity. That comes about through learning and living and solving problems jointly. And we don't agree on everything. We have never agreed on everything. But we have
So we had yard work in there.
we essentially have over the years worked out the areas where we have disagreements, and so now we have a way we look at things together. I'm always reminded of the story about the 5 blind men that were there to describe an elephant. One, in describing the elephant, said the elephant was like a snake. And the other one said he thought the elephant was like a big tree, because he could feel the leaves. Another one said the elephant was like a stump, a tree in the ground. And one said the elephant was a wall. And the other one said the elephant was a rope. None of them had the same idea of the elephant, what the elephant is. They were blind. But as they conversed back and forth one another, they got a complete description of the elephant. And that's the way you have to handle problems in a marriage. Because the problem that she looks at is based on her background. The problem I look at is based upon my background and the things I've learned in life, like her. And so we're looking at different problems. And by discussing back and forth, some people think it's arguing, but it isn't arguing. It's conversing, discussing, trying to arrive at what is the elephant we're looking at. So it's a lot of good conversation back and forth.
All right. How do you, this kind of answers this, but how do you effectively address and resolve any conflict that arises in your marriage?
It's essentially how we do it. Talk it through.
We talk it through.
All right, then, how do you communicate about finances together to stay on the same page?
I respect that Larry works really hard, earns a good living, manages the money well, and I try to live within what he believes is and I've never gone without anything that I really wanted because he's made sure that I had it, but we've always worked together to have the things that were important in our life, to pay our tithing and to be able to educate our children, and things like that came first, and then the things that we needed. And we've always been able to talk about it and work it out.
I always had the commitment that I would never want my family to suffer want. I suffered want as a child. When I was 3 years old, my father left to go to war. And I remember it. I remember how hard things were. And I remember waking up every morning wanting to know if my father was still alive. I remember he came home when I was 7, almost 7. And I was excited about that, but it was hard because we had to build a new life. And it was hard. My parents went without an awful lot to provide for family. My father made sure we had the income, and I was brought up to believe it was my responsibility to never want. I wanted to make sure there's always plenty of means to do the things that Georgia needed to do for her family.
All right. According to research, the best predictor of marital satisfaction is the degree to which you believe that you have divided household responsibilities fairly between the two of you. What does that process of communicating about distributing different household responsibilities look like for the two of you?
I think that's one thing we did really early on. He makes the living and I take care of the family. And it was very early on we decided that's the way it would be. And it worked really good for us. I thought he should help with yard work. He doesn't like yard work. There were things I don't like to do, like balance money or a lot of things, and so he took on the things that he liked to do. I took on the yard work and the things I love to do, and I appreciate everything that he does, and I think he appreciates the yard work and the things that I do. With the children, we both worked equally. I didn't work. I stayed home and took care of the kids. When he came home at night, he was able to take over and do fun things with the kids that helped him build a relationship with the children. So,
If they were still awake.
we still won.
If they were still awake.
They were still awake. Sometimes he came home pretty late, but they understood. I made sure that the kids understood that he was either doing his church job and needed to be away from home, or that he was trying to earn a good living for us. And I hope that I never made them ever feel like he was wanting to be away from us or anything. I always wanted them to think that he was out doing the things that would make our family better.
I chuckle because of the answer that Georgia gave. She was a bookkeeper when I married her. She doesn't like to do finances. I grew up as a farmer, and I don't like yard work.
It worked out so perfect. It was like made me.
I was actually in high school the president of the Future Farmers Organization. So things change in life is what I'm saying. And life is fun. It's important. Remember, it's fun. You have to enjoy being with each other. And so these dividing up the household chores was never a problem.
That's been our easiest thing.
I always took the garbage out, but she always filled the garbage cans. Until Cy came along, and Cy became the garbage collector.
And I could have this big yard if he didn't have to do any yard work in it. He paid for the big yard and I did the yard work.
All right. Does one of you have more power in decision making, or do you feel you have equal power in decision making?
I think it's pretty joint.
I feel like we've always worked well together. We've had very few times when there's been something that we just did not agree with.
That was a pickup truck and it was a
Blue convertible. He came home with a blue convertible to surprise me.
Somebody has to make the final decision. You got two people voting.
It took me several days and then a ride in the convertible to decide that it was all right that he'd spent that kind of money without talking it over with me on a car that we didn't need.
Okay, and then last one. What wise advice do you have for those who are not yet married?
Don't just marry anybody. Be sure that you marry somebody that you have things in common with and that you really feel that love that's necessary to build a good marriage and a good family. Sometimes people marry for money, they marry because somebody's popular, but you'll know if you get down on your knees and kneel and pray as I did, you will know if it's the right person or not. It's the only way you'll know.
I agree with everything she said. I would add what I think is extremely important, and it's really hard when you're young. I mean, you're in your 20s typically when you get married, and you got this kid whose mental capabilities are not really quite where they ought to be, and you're making a decision that lasts a long, long time.
Into eternity,
And
in fact.
will affect everything that you do in life. This is the most important decision you'll ever make. And unfortunately, these 20-year-olds tend to make it somewhat flippantly, like, well, I like his music, or he got a good car, or she's cute, or he's handsome. I like their sense of humor. You know, those are important, but that's not how you pick an eternal companion. You have to look beyond the thing, because the person that Georgia married is not this person. For one thing, I weighed 135 pounds.
And I thought he was too skinny, so.
And I didn't have glasses. You know, you don't marry the person you see. Even people that I knew very closely 40 years ago, I don't recognize them sometimes because they have changed so much. I was at a meeting several years ago, and a good friend of mine was sitting behind me, and I was talking to him. And he turned to his daughter and said, "Who is that guy anyway?" What I'm trying to say is, people change, so you have to look what's beyond what you see. And say, how is this person going to be living with forever? And what are the goals? I like to tell people when I give you marriage counseling, make sure you marry a person that has a ladder on the same wall that you have your ladder. Because if those ladders are on different walls, you got a very unhappy situation that ultimately is going to end up in a disaster. And that